Walt Jankowski's son, Walter, couldn't find his father's voting records. He looked on the MyVote website and discovered that his father had requested a mail-in ballot. Mr. Jankowski voted and returned it all before Election Day. The Waunakee clerk told the son that since no one in nursing homes has an ID, they aren't required to provide ID. All they have to do is give consent. The son asked how his dad gave consent since he doesn't speak or write. And the clerk said that pointing isn't acceptable, or an eye wink would be okay as well. I want you to meet Mr. Jankowski yourself.
Okay, I'm Wally Jankowski. I'm 62. This is my dad, Walt Jankowski, exact same name. The second, he is 84, born in 1937.
How long has your father been institutionalized?
He's been here since about 1976, 75, 76, somewhere in there. Yeah. Dad had a brain surgery in Canada back in the early 70s, and it didn't go very well, and he's been basically institutionalized ever since.
And you've been his guardian since you're 17?
Yep. So, as soon as I turned 17, my mother, I could take on a little more responsibility. So.
Right, and so with respect to the voting, were you surprised that your father voted in 2020?
I was. I actually, after I looked on the I Vote Wisconsin thing, I looked and I'm like, oh, this can't be true. He requested a absentee ballot, and then he filled it out himself. And the only record showed of any voting for him was in that election, of course, since he's been in these institutions.
Which election was that?
What?
Which election? November 2020?
Yes, last November's presidential election.
The whole purpose of these illustrations are to illustrate the real world and real person consequences of the decisions that are made, in this case, by 5 out of the 6 commissioners on the Wisconsin Elections Commission. These were not academic exercises. These were real world and had real world consequences and left a trail of victims. We've been able to interview a number of people, but we got 92,000 residents in continuing care facilities in Wisconsin, and in the Zuckerberg 5 cities. We've been able to look at the numbers. In the Zuckerberg 5 cities, in all of those counties, those nursing homes reported a voting rate anywhere in between 95% and 100%. Please meet Sandra Klitsky. The video will speak for itself. You don't need my introduction.
County Circuit Court Judge Vincent R. Biskupic established the guardianship?
Correct.
So Sandra Klitsky is the ward and you're the guardian.
Correct.
And Sandra, you knew about that, and that was what you wanted, right? Mm-hmm. And you're the only child, right, Lisa?
I am the only child.
That's right. And included in the February 21, 2020 order was a restriction on voting. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Right. And so that's what we're talking about, because since the order, Sandy Klitsky has been voting, right?
Yes, she has.
And that caused you some concern?
Yes, it did.
I recognize courage when I see it, and I recognize when people want to do the right thing, even when it's tough. And I have no more respect for anyone than I have for the people in these videos.
Which candidate do you think you're more likely to vote for, A or B?
One of the reasons that I believe these videos are so important is because had the WEC commissioners followed the law, then special voting deputies who are trained and take an oath to follow all of the legally required ballot procedures would have had the opportunity to observe for themselves. One from each party is what the law requires. One from each party for the obvious reason to keep the other one honest. And those special voting deputies, instead of leaving it up to the tender mercies of whoever happened to get the ballot, those special voting deputies would have had both the lawful oath, the lawful obligation, and the legal training necessary to ensure that an ineligible voter does not vote. I'd like you to meet Ms. Merrill Bear, another voter in the presidential election in 2020.
A memory problem, probably for 20 years, but it has progressed to the point now where she has a difficult time remembering names of people. She's not capable of making many decisions at all. Her healthcare decisions were turned over to me in 2009, I believe. So she's basically not capable any longer of even remaining awake for more than a few minutes. She's being fed by hand, and she's currently in hospice care.
Wow. And so you surprised that she voted in February 2021?
Absolutely.
So who discovered it? Is it?
Well, Ron and I were talking about the history of her voting, and Ron pulled up the website that lists all of the information, myvote.com, I guess it is, and so the discovery that she voted in February was very recent, within the last couple of weeks. But I was surprised to hear that she voted in the last presidential election. That kind of shocked me and put me in motion to find out what is going on here.
All right. I'd like to introduce you to Mrs. Cecily Sherlock.
Absolutely. I had absolutely no idea that she had been voting. Much to my surprise, she had voted for the last, off and on for the last 10 years. I guess in my mind, I thought if you put your parent into a facility because they were incapacitated, they would not even be offered the vote.
June Carmichael.
What will the people of Wisconsin do to pick the next governor? You know?
No.
Okay. When the election for governor is over, how will we decide who the winner is? You know? How will they decide who the winner of the election is?
No, I don't know.
Okay. So is it, do you know who the governor is now?
No, I don't think so.
Remember?
No. Who's the governor?
Governor Tony Evers. Do you know who the president is?
President
Yeah.
of this country
Or
or?
president of the country?
No, I don't know.
The first of our final three interviewees is Mrs. Lila Alberts.
And so how do they make you
Because
vote?
I didn't want to vote, and they told me I had to.
Jody Schulteis.
Sure. So my mom just recently passed away. She was
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, she was 88 years old and was living in assisted living because she had dementia, and so she had what was called mixed dementia, Alzheimer's and vascular dementia. And lo and behold, she voted in the 2020 election. She did vote before that too, but I was most interested in the 2020 election. She voted in February, she voted in April in the primary, and she voted on November 3rd, 2020.
And I'd now like to introduce you to Mrs. Marie Hayden.
I'm Gary Hayden. This is my mother, Marie Hayden.
And so how long has Miss Hayden lived here at the facility?
I'm
I
trying to
think
think
in
if I got.
2017, she had after you had the stroke.
I remember.
We used to come every single week when she was on the assisted living. Then when COVID happened, we couldn't get in at all, so we visited outside windows, and then they limited the number of visits that we could come. And there was four or five of us wanted to visit, so we'd have to take turns. So it was maybe once a month or once every month and a half.
And you voted in 2020, which wasn't that long ago, and that would have been after the movement over here to the memory care unit, or over to the side.
I think just before. I don't even know if you knew that you had voted at the time. I don't remember what
I
you
think,
said.
yeah,
But
Right.
I did.
evidently.
I think I did.
And that's why you contacted us, because you were concerned about her voting
Yeah,
when she wasn't capable of voting.
yeah.
But let's ask you some questions then. This will only take a few minutes.
I'm in a rush.
Okay. Okay.
I got all the time in the world.
Okay. All right. Well, so this is called the category assessment tool for voting. So let's just start with the first one. So I'm going to really do this slowly. I'm going to ask you some questions about elections. This should take about 5 minutes. If you don't understand something I say or ask, you just tell me that, and I'll repeat it. Some of the questions may seem very simple to you, but don't worry about that. We're just looking for answers. Do you have any questions before we begin?
No,
Okay.
I haven't the vaguest idea what you're going to ask.
Okay, here we go. So imagine that two candidates are running for governor of Wisconsin, and today is election day in Wisconsin. Okay, got it? What will the people of Wisconsin do today to pick the next governor?
Well, they would vote.
Exactly. Good. Okay, so that's good. And the second one, when the election for governor is over, how be decided who the winner is?
One of the most votes.
Exactly. Okay, now here's the third question. And I got to hold a hand up for you. There you go. Okay, so this is.
She cannot see.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I know there's printing there.
Okay, but I'll read it to you slowly then.
Yeah, I can't.
Okay. So, candidate A thinks the state should be doing more to provide health insurance to people who don't have it. He is willing to raise taxes to get the money to do those things. Candidate B says the government should not provide health insurance, but should make it easier for employers to offer it. Candidate B is against raising taxes. Do you prefer candidate A or candidate B? What do you think?
Well, I think they should have, I suppose, raise taxes as much as you don't like to. It's hard to take it out of your pocketbook. Oh golly. Oh gosh. How do you know if you're doing the right thing? I would say people don't want the taxes raised, I'm sure. I have a short memory right now.
No, that's all right. Right. Well, thank you again, and thanks, Gary. Thank you so much. That's the end of the interview.
Madam Chair, I thank you for your indulgence of allowing approximately 25 minutes for that. I know it seems like it got a little long for at least 3 members of your committee on their phones and computers and the like, but I tell you what, each of those 8 people and each of those 8 families, they are but representative of the approximately 92,000 residents of continuing care facilities we have in this state. And I don't mind taking a few minutes, I don't mind 1 minute, because I know how upset and disappointed I would be, and I suspect everyone in this room would be, if they found their parent or loved one had been taken advantage of, all because WEC intentionally, the 5 out of 6 commissioners intentionally and knowingly violated the law and allowed, not just did away with the special voting deputies, but the statutes of Wisconsin specifically prohibit employees of nursing homes from presenting ballots to residents, but that was done in virtually every case.